India has 1.4 billion people. So why aren't we better at sports? If only we got $1 every time we heard this. It's a constant complaint against India, as if quantity guarantees quality. But beneath this question lies a complex web of pride, of expectations, and of national duty. Because sports is not just a pastime in India. For some people, it's a ticket out of poverty. For others, it's a means to fame. So let's take a deep dive into India's sporting history, our roots, our highs, and our lows. Don't let anyone tell you that India is not a sporting country. You want proof? Let me take you to the ruins of Dholavira in Gujarat. In 2004, excavations found an ancient stadium here, around 800 feet long, capable of holding 10,000 people. Historians say it's the oldest stadium in the world, almost 4,000 years old. So it's wrong to say that India is not a sporting country. We just played our own games, like kabaddi, kho-kho, and atya-patya. These were based on physical prowess and strategies. You had to be quick on your feet and in your mind. And how can we forget chess? The origins of the game can be traced to ancient India. Today we are reclaiming it. The current chess champion is an Indian teenager. There's a whole generation of young Indians scaling new heights. But today when you say sports, no one thinks of kabaddi or chess. They think of tennis or football or cricket. All these games were introduced by the British in India. At first, it was for their pleasure. The white officers wanted to be fit and have a good time, so they created racially exclusive clubs. Indians were not allowed to play. They could only stand on the sidelines and watch. Later, that attitude changed, not because the British suddenly grew a conscience, but because they wanted to civilize us. They thought sports could be used to enlighten Indians. Even then, it was limited. India's nobles took up sports. So did many Indian soldiers in the British Army. But for the ordinary people, it remained a distant dream. That would only change gradually. And when it did, it gave us a nationalistic outlet. Just think about it. Indians were constantly oppressed and subjugated by the British. But on the field, we could beat them. We could turn the tables. And one such moment came in 1911. India's fabled football club Mohun Bagan reached the IFA Shield final. On the other side, the unbeaten East Yorkshire Regiment. Some 100,000 people came to see the match, and Mohun Bagan did not disappoint. They defeated the undefeated English team. What followed was an outpouring of national sentiment. One of the newspapers summed it up best. Mohun Bagan did what the Indian National Congress could not. They fractured the myth that the British Empire was unbeatable. In most sports, such wins were rare. But in one discipline, India soon became a global powerhouse, and that is hockey. The sport was invented in the 19th century Britain. By the 1850s, it was brought to India. Back then, there was no shortage of open parcels of land, so the Indian population also took to hockey. In 1855, the first hockey club was founded in Calcutta. Even as we honed our skills, we had to wait. We couldn't barge onto the global stage. That moment came in 1925. The Indian Hockey Federation was formed. The next year, the Indian team toured New Zealand. They won 18 out of 20 games. Clearly, something big was afoot. India soon got entry into the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam. Our team visited England to acclimatize. Then it was time for a grand debut. India did not concede a single goal in this tournament. We beat the Netherlands in the final to take gold. The hockey press was unified in praise. They loved India's speed and strategy. But this was just the start. As they say, success begets success. The victory in 1928 triggered one of the greatest streaks in sports. India won gold in 1932, in 1936, 1948, 52 and 56. We were undefeated until the gold medal match in 1960. It was the golden age of Indian hockey. Now I know what you're thinking. Where was cricket all this time? Cricket was introduced much before hockey in the early 1700s, but it was more complicated and more expensive to play. You needed a lot more than just open land. Regional tournaments were common in the 1800s. But by the early 1900s, Indians began travelling overseas. They visited England to play cricket. One such team travelled in 1911. It was led by the Maharaja of Patiala. But that team was not an official Indian team, and they did not play England's national team either. They played county teams. After this tour came the First World War. No matches, no tours. Then in 1926, India was invited by the ICC, or the International Cricket Council. We were finally granted test status. Then in 1932, we played our first test. An official Indian team visited England for a series. No luck there. In fact, we had no luck for decades. Our first test victory would come in 1952. Team India beat England in Chennai. A year later, we beat Pakistan for our first series win. Still, it was nothing compared to hockey. The turning point would come in 1983. That's when Team India won the Cricket World Cup in England, that too by beating the invincible West Indies. Nobody gave us a chance. Even the country had no hope, which made the victory all the more special. It turned cricketers into household names. It turned performers into national icons. And the timing of this win was perfect. It gave us belief that we could beat even the best in the world. This belief carried over into the 1990s. India opened up its economy. We welcomed private investments and globalization, and cricket was an obvious beneficiary. As Indians got richer, our market value increased. Suddenly, brands were rushing in. They signed up players as ambassadors. They wanted hoardings at Indian stadiums. And of course, they bought up advertisement slots. In the 21st century, we had another 1983 moment. It came in 2007. A young Indian team lifted the first ever T20 World Cup in South Africa. Indian cricket officials spotted the opportunity. The next year, in 2008, the IPL was started, the Indian Premier League. Today, it is valued at around $18 billion. It is one of the richest leagues in the world. Safe to say, India runs cricket right now. The troubles of the 1930s and 40s have long been forgotten. Nowadays, countries clamour to host India. But while cricket rose, what happened to other disciplines like athletics or tennis or football? In 1947, our sporting infrastructure was modest. We had some colonial stadiums and dusty maidans, but nothing state-of-the-art. Plus, sports was not exactly the top priority. The focus was on nation building. Still, India produced some world-class athletes, like Milkha Singh in the late 1950s and early 60s. He was the first Indian to win gold at the Commonwealth Games. He also came very close to the podium in the 1960 Olympics. Singh was fondly called the Flying Sikh. Then you had Kamaljeet Sandhu. She won gold at the 1970 Asian Games, the first Indian woman to score a gold at that event. These heroes were not created by the system. They succeeded despite it. The effort to change that began in the 1980s. New Delhi hosted the 1982 Asian Games. We finished 5th in that edition. More importantly, we built a lot of infrastructure, multi-purpose stadiums, synthetic tracks, and modern shooting ranges. The Games gave us momentum to push on. In 1984, the Sports Authority of India was set up. Its job was to promote athletes, to find and develop talent. By the 1990s, the landscape began to change. Just like cricket, other sports also became commercialized. You had cable television, you had brand endorsements. All of it put more money into sports. Finally, in the year 2000, India set up a dedicated sports ministry. Still, our wins were limited. Just 1 medal in the 2004 Olympics, 3 in the 2008 Games, 6 in the 2012 Games, 2 in 2016, 7 in Tokyo in 2020, and 6 in 2024 Paris. Not consistent at all. What's lacking is not talent. What's lacking is a pipeline and a system. India has tried to correct that in the last decade. In 2014, the government launched something called TOPS, Target Olympic Podium Scheme. In 2017, the Khelo India Games were launched. It brings together students from across India, sort of like India's Youth Olympics. Of course, the end goal is 2036. That's when India is hoping to host the Summer Olympics. It would certainly cap India's journey from dusty maidans to glittering Olympic stadiums. Hopefully, we can win a few medals on the way.